Hey guys, East with Journey to Programming here. Let's just really quickly go through a quick question on what to expect from your very first phone interview call with a company, okay? So when you get your first call, and I'm not talking about the one where the recruiter gives you a call and you guys are talking about what that company focuses on and what they do, and they're trying to kind of feel you out and see if you can communicate clearly and if you're a pleasant person to interact with and if they want you to work at the company. I'm not talking about that call. That's the introductory call, which normally happens after you submit a resume and after it's gone through the weeding process and the company's decided they actually want to possibly bring you in for an interview or talk to you. The next step is the first interview call, and that's generally what I call the first technical interview. It's not extremely complex. It doesn't go into depth. You're not usually going to write code or anything like that. Normally, it's just a really quick phone call, maybe 30 minutes tops. And depending on the company, usually that phone call is going to be pretty straightforward computer science questions. So for most of you guys going out and trying to find a software development job at a entry level, a mid-level, or even a senior level, to be quite honest, most companies really have you in your first technical phone call answer basic object-oriented programming questions like, for example, what is inheritance? Can you tell me about polymorphism? What is the difference between overriding and overloading? And these are really simple things that you guys should have picked up in your computer science studies. If you did not have a formal background in computer science, then look them up. You don't have to have a formal background in computer science to understand these concepts. And polymorphism is just kind of an overall concept on reusability and being able to define classes and objects and reuse them in different ways, inheritance, etc. Overriding and overloading also are the foundation of object-oriented programming, where overriding, you're going to be overriding functions. You get to inherit them from either a parent class, an abstract class, and then you get to override them and change the way that they're implemented so that their functionality is a little bit different depending on your child classes. Overloading is being able to use the same method signatures and then change the parameters that it accepts in order to change the way it actually behaves based on the parameter sets. And both of them are very valuable, crucial for OOP and for computer science and programming in general. But those are the types of questions you're going to get. I've personally had people ask me polymorphism, overriding, overloading. I've had people ask me, can you reverse a string for me on a call? And I basically just told them, absolutely. I told them the code on a call just really quickly, and I asked them if they want more detail on how to do it. I used a few different methods. I gave a really naive approach with, okay, what if I just use a for loop to traverse a C++ or a C# string, which can be really indexed like an array, and all I do is I print it in reverse. Hey, that's an easy way to do it. Or what if I use the string classes method, which allows you to use string.reverse? Both of them I threw out there. We both had a little giggle. This was several years ago, and the recruiter and I both kind of moved on from there. They understood that, okay, I've probably written enough code to know how to use a loop, probably know enough at least to know the library functions. That's great. So he just went ahead and jumped past that. We talked more about the actual job, the role, and we moved on from there. Another common one is going to be if you're working or looking towards a job which is going to have desktop programming involved. Knowing the difference between value types and reference types is very important. You want to know how you're passing objects between methods and functionality. So that's crucial to know. Do you know what a stack is? Do you know what the heap is? Do you know any version control systems? Do you know what Git is or Perforce? Those are all pretty important things to know, especially if you're going to be considered for a job where they're using that tech. Let's see, off the top of my head, I was going to say maybe they've asked about parallel processing, but no, I don't think I've ever had anybody ask about threads and multiple processes in a first interview. I've had it happen in an actual coding interview and then in person, and that was for a parallel processing job with a graphics card company. But I haven't had them ask that name in original code. Oh, SQL. So they may throw out some SQL questions for you, especially if it's going to be a job where you may have to do some database work here and there, or you may have to interact with the database admins. They may want to know, okay, do you know some basic SQL functionalities, how to write a query or two? That may be something they'll throw at you. Do you know what an inner join or an outer join is? For website stuff, I've had people ask me, have I ever worked with MVC, which would be, Model View Controller, or MVVC, which is going to be Model View and View Controller, I think. So you're going to want to be able to know what those acronyms stand for, and then you want to be able to explain them too. Okay, let's continue. Those first calls, you usually need to be able to answer those questions in order to make it through that first technical call. If you cannot hit at least probably, let's say, 3 out of 4 questions that they ask and hit them fully on without a mistake, and you're basically hitting the nail on the head, then it's hard to say that you're going to be able to move on to the next step. Don't beat yourself up if you've gone through these, or if you watch this video and then you decide, hey, I'm going to put out a bunch of resumes, and then you actually do land an interview and you bomb it. Don't beat yourself up. It happens. I got wrecked in a bunch of the interviews when I was starting out, and that's how I learned it. But that's also why I share this stuff with you guys. I want you guys to be prepared and be able to go into those interviews feeling confident that you've practiced enough and that you're prepared to be able to answer the questions that they have. Again, this is more so information about the first technical interview call that you're going to have with them. This is not what you should be expecting once you have a technical round where they're either reviewing on a shared video platform. So Google's pretty popular for doing a Google Hangouts call with you, and what they do is they give you a shared notepad, and they'll watch your notepad as you're writing solutions for technical implementation problems. Facebook does similar. A lot of big companies, after you make it through that first phone call, or sometimes they skip a first technical phone call and they go straight to a video technical. So that's what you guys should be expecting. I think a lot of the corporations out there that are not in the Big 4, Big 5, or are not specifically tech companies, those tend to do the phone call technical first. They try to get a feel for if you understand software development as a whole before they throw you into an hour-long interview with anyone else. And actually, a lot of the time after that original phone call technical, if you've done well enough, they may just skip your second phone call technical and invite you to be on site. Or they'll do a video chat with you if you're maybe not local to the area. Again, don't be afraid of these things. Just go ahead and jump in. If you do an interview and you bomb it, the worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to say, sorry, but you're not the right fit for the position at the time. We'll keep your resume on hand. If anything comes up, we'll consider you in the future. Or they're going to just ghost you. A lot of companies won't even respond. Unfortunately, that's just how the market is nowadays. So again, don't worry too much about it. Don't beat yourself up. Just keep on moving forward. This is Isa with Journey to Programming. Leave your comments down below over there. I'm getting better at that, pointing downwards. So have a good one, guys.